One of my favorite fruit trees is the persimmon tree. It's super easy to grow, and there are persimmons that are very small, and so they can fit into any yard, and they have very few pest problems. You don't have to do a lot of spraying. The wood is very hard. In fact, it was used to make wood iron golf clubs for many years and still is, and since it's so strong, borer damage is just not something that you have with those. So if you are into low input fruit trees, persimmons are a good tree. And many of the varieties are fruitful or self-fruitful. They don't need a pollinator, and they produce a lot of fruit in a very short time. You often have 30 to 40 fruit on a tree by its second year, and before too long you are inundated with persimmons, and that can be a nice thing. Now there are different sizes of fruit. One of the most productive trees is the taninashi, which is these smaller fruit here, but the fuyu is a good one. Chia is another one that I've had great success with here. And when you harvest your persimmons, you can harvest them while they're still quite hard. And you always want to make sure that you're getting the calyx too when you cut it from the tree. Sometimes it's best just to go ahead and cut the little branch with it. And you may have to use a basket to harvest them when they're hard. It's a little bit tricky to harvest them when they start to get soft on the tree because they bruise so easily. And that's one reason why we don't see persimmons in grocery stores that often, except for the very firm persimmons, and those aren't really my favorites to eat. Now I like to just put them on a tray or in a basket where they're in a single layer and bring them indoors from October and November before they're quite soft. Now if you eat them when they're hard, they're very astringent. They have a lot of tannins and they taste bad. Cold weather or time will develop those, will make those tannins break down so that they're not astringent tasting, but they almost have a chalky flavor if you eat one when they're bad, and I promise you, you will think that you don't like persimmons if you eat them that way. They really need to have almost a jelly or a pudding-like consistency before you eat them, and so when one is soft enough so that you actually can leave a fingerprint in the side of the persimmon, then that's a soft, ripe persimmon and it won't be astringent. Now, like I said, there are some like tamapan that can be eaten when they're firm and are not astringent, but these are the astringent variety. So once they start to get soft, they can be refrigerated for about 5 to 7 days, and then they go bad very quickly, so it's nice to have some ways to preserve and store them. One of the things I like to do is take a persimmon and just slice off slices, put it on parchment paper, put it on a cookie sheet, put that in the freezer until all the slices are very frozen. You want the slices to not be touching as it goes into the freezer. Then once they're frozen, you can put them in a baggie or a plastic container and take out a few slices, put them in a smoothie. A pineapple and persimmon smoothie is one of my very favorites, and I'll be putting the recipe for that on the website. You can also make a delicious persimmon ice cream very quickly in your food processor with cream, sugar, and the persimmon slices, and that also will be on our website. And then you can take the persimmon pulp from ripe persimmons and just put that in a container. I like to add a little lemon juice to it so that it doesn't discolor, but then this could be used for pulp in breads and cookies and all kinds of baked goods, and it keeps them very nice and moist and fresh. And then the easiest way to store your excess persimmons is just to take the ripe persimmons and put them in a freezer bag and store them in the freezer whole. Once they come out of the freezer, they're very soft and ready to use, and you can easily harvest the pulp and separate it from the seeds. So you can enjoy persimmons all year long from the fruits of your harvest in the fall.